Okay, as I said, I'm going to record this portion. So first things first, thank you for sharing your experiences with your Unit 1 summative. So at this point, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk about what we're doing today. And then I'm going to give you some instructions. All right, somebody unmute or on video, give me thumbs up or verbally tell me you can see my screen.
Yep. I can see the screen.
All right, thanks, Mo. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We completed sharing out your experiences. Okay, next, we're going to learn and take notes on these concepts called composition, balance, and then lastly, positive versus negative space. Okay, and for some of this, I'm going to open your eyes to things that you've seen in the real world, but maybe you haven't really seen it. So more on that in a little bit, you'll understand. Okay. Then what I'm going to ask you to do is sketch what we call a balance project, and I will explain that. All right. I want you to like sketch out what your ideas are before you start on the actual project. Okay. I'm going to say that again. I want you to sketch out what your ideas are for the balance project before you actually start on the balance project. All right. It'll make sense the more I explain it. So just hang in there if some of this doesn't make a lot of sense just yet. So just hang in there and stay with me. Next, I want you to take your sketch and I want you to add it to the Jamboard. Okay, I made a Jamboard. So last time we did a Jamboard, people gave feedback and Post-its. Okay, this time I want to use the Jamboard to give you feedback before you actually start the balance project. So you would sketch it, you'd add it to the Jamboard, and then I'm going to post in there little Post-its to give you feedback. If we were in person, I would have the tables in the middle of the room with no computers on them, and you'd have a notebook, and I'd ask you to sketch out your ideas. And then once you show it to me and I give you feedback, then I would allow you to go ahead and start, and I'd give you all of your materials. So under these circumstances, I can't do that step in person. So I'm going to utilize the Jamboard as my tool to give you your feedback on your sketch before you actually start. Okay. Next, you would utilize the feedback. Okay. And then lastly, create your balance project. Okay. Now, knowing that I'm going to explain all this stuff next, do you have any kind of like initial questions?
Wait, how do we sketch it out and then show it to you?
You can do it in Google Drawing. You could do it on a piece of paper. If you have a notebook, paper, and pencil, you can do that. In the classroom, I give everybody a notebook, and then they take out like their own pencils, and you would just sketch it. So I'm not assessing your sketch. Jesse, thanks for the question. I'm not assessing your sketch. It's just a way for you to formulate your ideas before you start on a project. Okay. So like to elaborate on that a little bit more, in the future, we don't want you to just jump on the computer and start working. We want you to think through your ideas about a particular project given the topic that we're teaching. So this whole class isn't just about learning tools on Photoshop or Photopea, okay? There's so much more to the course, and that's kind of what I'm opening your eyes to today, okay? Jesse, great question. Any others? Okay, all right, then I'm gonna move forward, and the first thing I'm gonna show you is if you go to Classroom, let me explain this before you open it up on your own, but I will give you time to do so, okay? So in Google Classroom are these guided notes, okay? You should have one that has your name on it and mine, and it says Schneider Code Graphic Arts Unit 1, Part 1, okay? And this is the way you take notes. Now, you'll know, please keep in mind, I don't do a lot of like direct instruction, but early on in the course, it's kind of needed so that you understand the concepts by which we're grading you, by which we're expecting you to do. And then also when you provide feedback to other people, you have an educated approach to giving feedback, okay? So you would be giving more valuable feedback to someone than just like good or bad, but you could say something like, your picture looks good so far, but I think you need to think about the composition of your project in terms of balancing it. So you could say something like that to them, and after, you know, I give you some of this information and you learn how to use those words, you would be able to give feedback like that. Okay, and that's the goal. All right, but we're gonna get you there, but it's gonna take a lot of tiny little steps. So know that I don't do a lot of direct instruction overall, but sometimes, especially early on, it's needed. So we're going to start with that. All right, so this is your guided notes where these are the terms we're going to talk about: balance, composition, positive space, negative space, and we're going to stop there for today. So these are the terms you're going to learn about today, okay? And to gain access to that, there's slides right here, which I'm going to talk you through, okay? What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to break for a second, and I'm going to let you open up this document, okay? And then once you do, don't go yet, you would type in your own words, in my own words, the meanings of balance. So you wouldn't actually type in your own words. What I'm saying is I want you to use this spot, okay, to, in your own words, define balance. Make sense so far? Do I have any questions? Okay, cool. So I'm going to talk you through what balance means. Then you would, in your own words, type it here on your document. All right. After the fact, when we're kind of done with this part, you would go out to Google. You're allowed to use other people's images, especially in this circumstance. Okay. And you would drag their photo in here. So you can see this photo represents balance. Okay. Can you predict why I would use this photo to represent a concept like balance?
Because they're exactly the same photos on each side. That like the color is balanced, the pictures are like completely balanced. Like
Very
if
good,
you put it
right?
on a scale, they both weigh the same amount.
Very good, Leanne. Nice job. So like we're using this because even the figures themselves are showing balance. Like these ladies are balancing on, I don't know if you could pick it up, but there's a very small beam here. The elephants are balanced, but it's also, there's meaning behind the picture. Like there's two elephants and they're both on either side of the image. Notice I could probably split this image down the middle, right? If I were to draw a vertical line, and it would almost look the same. It would almost be like a mirror of itself, okay? Almost. So the creator of this graphic really focused really heavily on balancing it, okay? And then they also showed you people literally balancing and elephants literally balancing. So this is a great image, okay? And the way to do that, real quick, I don't need to show you too much because you guys are really smart with using technology. I can see it already. But if I find a picture that I want to use, all I have to do is drag it from Google and then drop it. And then it automatically puts it in there. Okay? So you want to find, in summary, and then I'll be done explaining this, you want to, for these 4 words today, you want to put it in your own words here. So you're going to process it and then put it in your own words. And then you'll find an image from Google or wherever. If you have one, great. You're going to find an image that you can put there that helps to represent this. So later, let's say 2 days from now, you could look at this thing and you'd be like, oh, cool. Now I understand when Mr. Schneider said my project wasn't balanced yet, right? Now I can go back and I can see what he means because I even wrote this in my own words. And then I made a picture to represent it. Okay? So questions on any of that?
Should we change the photos that are already in there?
I gave you those as samples so you understood how to use this. You don't have to. You can leave them in there. You'll notice that I only give you 2 examples. Okay? So good question. You can leave them in there. That's my example. You could leave it in there. You could replace it. Totally up to you. Okay? Don't be overwhelmed by this document. We're going to come back to it and add to it. We're just doing these 4 words today. That's it. Okay? Anybody else have questions?
So we just do the 4 words and then we go do the black and white paper?
Yeah, I'm going to give you instructions on that on moving forward. But first, good question.
Right.
First, we're going to go through these parts. All right. And then I'm going to give you your steps on what to do next. Okay. Good question, Jesse. I just don't want to explain too much because I don't want to overwhelm. So I'm just going to kind of keep it small and piece by piece for now. All right. Any other questions? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop share and I want you to open up this document. Okay. Again, that's in Google Classroom. Once you've opened up the document, would you mind typing in the chat ready? That will let me know that you're on the document, you're good, you understand, and we're ready. Awesome. Look at all you guys.
Oh, the Unit 2 notes or the balance one?
It's called Unit 2 Notes, and then in parentheses, Guided, Part 1.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. You can switch back and forth between my screen Zoom tab and then also the tab with the document. You can switch back and forth as needed, okay? The link for the slides I'm about to talk you through is with the word balance if you click it. All right? So I guess from you guys, do you want me to go share my screen and talk to it, or do you want to like look on your own Google Slides and be able to switch back and forth to your notes? How would you prefer to learn? In other words, my question is, do you want me to share my screen as I go through the slides on my screen and you're kind of watching? Or would you rather kind of have it on your own and then I just kind of like be the audio?
Be the audio. You mean for the Unit 2, the vocabulary we're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, as I'm going to walk you through those 4 vocabulary words. Okay, I have Sunny saying share my screen.
Yeah, share screen.
All right, share my screen. Okay, got it. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share my screen. I'll pull up the slides on mine. Feel free to flip back and forth as needed, okay? So I'm sharing my screen now. I'm going to go to the balanced slides. Okay, now I've already kind of previewed the word balance to you, okay? So there's a few more words we want to talk about before we really start to like look at some graphics that are out there in the world, okay? We talk about things called composition. Now, composition is the way that you would arrange your graphics on a picture. So think about the lady with the bird. Think about how you arranged text boxes with your graphic arts magazine cover, the Unit 1 summative. Think about how you arranged those text boxes and why you put them where you did. Okay? Did you put them all on one side? Or did you put some on one side and some on the other? And what about the size of the text? Was the size of the text all the same? Or did you want to make some of it bigger and bolder to emphasize that that one's important? Okay? And how did you balance out if you had a bold one on this side with the amount of text that goes on the other side, right? So you probably just kind of like innately thought of these things. And so as we move forward, I want it to be something that you do think about as a graphic artist, that it doesn't just kind of like happen just because, but it's something that you're purposely doing with your graphics, okay? So that's what's called composition, the way that you arrange the elements in a graphic, okay? Then we talk about balance, all right? Now, balance and composition are obviously related. So you achieve balance by the way that you approach your composition. So you're arranging things, right? That's composition. When you sit back and you absorb where the images are located and how you've structured them, that would be balance. So they're very similar in nature, okay? And a lot of people will switch these words as they speak, and that's okay. You're in the stage where you're kind of like learning how to use these words. So totally okay right now, okay? Now, the reason why balance is a little bit more than just composition is because we're also going to talk about how you balance colors and shapes and lines and textures, okay? Let's just preview that for a second. Remember this image? You told me that it was balanced, right? You told me that the ladies are balancing and all that, okay? But what about shapes? What shapes do you see? Think just basic shapes, back to kindergarten. What shapes are you seeing?
Circles.
Triangle.
Triangles, all right? Very good. Are there any other shapes? Obviously triangles.
Circles. Oh, wait.
Very good. So this
Lines.
artist, and lines, look at you guys. So the lines, the triangles, like fantastic, guys. So now you're seeing that there's a little bit more to this image than just the balance. Excellent, excellent work. I couldn't have scripted any better myself. Okay, so now we're going to move on to this thing called positive and negative space, okay? And then we're going to stop there, all right? But here we go. So here's composition. But I'm going to come back to these. I'm going to talk about positive and negative space, okay? With this image, what do you see? What jumps out at you? Go ahead and unmute. What is this a picture of?
Two faces.
Some kind of like a vase statue thing.
Yeah, two people, right? Facing each other. What else is there?
A chalice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
it looks
chalice.
like that.
A cup, right? Or a candle holder. How about this image?
It looks like the same thing, just the colors reversed.
Good. In this image, okay, the positive space is the white part, okay? The part that kind of jumps off the page at you. All right? But this negative space, there's shapes in the negative space. Thanks, Mohammed, by the way. All right? And then in this one too, same thing, okay? In this image, which is in, what, is it the people or the candle holder / chalice thing that's in the negative space? What do you think? What's the negative space shape?
The white.
Very good. Okay, did you say light or white, Leanne?
The white color.
Okay, so the white, as we know, is the positive space. That's what's going to jump out at you. The negative space would be the darker color. All right? All right. I'm going to open your eyes to some things that you may have seen in the past. And this is where I previewed the lesson saying you're going to really see things differently now after this unit. Okay? Now, we all know what this shape is, right? What does this represent? For those of you that knows what this is and what it means, what does this represent? Go ahead, Jesse.
Balance.
Okay, good. Balance. Okay, a balance of nature, a balance of good and bad. Okay, and the concept here is if you've never had this explained to you and you've seen it and you're like, I don't know what that is though. It means that in all good things, there's always some bad. And in all bad things, there's always some good. Okay, so that's what this image means. Have you seen this image before?
Yes.
What's hidden? What's hidden in the image that other people may not have seen before? Go ahead, Christina. I'm sorry.
Where the E and the D is, and then there's like an arrow where the E and the X are.
All right. Now, if you've never seen it before, in the FedEx label logo is an arrow. Okay? In the negative space for the FedEx is an arrow. Now, it's a rhetorical question, but why would a shipping company use an arrow embedded in their logo, hidden in their logo, right? So it's rhetorical. All right. So what do you see here?
A goose.
A goose. And?
An and symbol.
Okay, very good.
There's like a duck. There's a duck in the middle.
Yeah. So think about this logo, how awesome this is. The restaurant is called Swan and Mallard. They have a swan and a mallard in the negative space. And then, as Leanne said, it's also the shape of the and sign. Isn't that cool? All right. What team is this? Anybody know what team this is?
Wales.
Yeah. Specifically, more specifically?
I believe it's like North Carolina. I don't remember. Maybe.
A good guess, Vasilios. That's okay. This team is called the Hartford Whalers. All right. So in their logo, they've embedded an H and a W. What else is there? There's something else that they've hidden in the logo.
The whale tail.
Very good. The whale tail. So all that is in their logo. The Hartford Whalers, and then they have the whale tail in there. Very good. Okay. This one's a little bit easier. But what do you see?
A gorilla.
Right? A gorilla and
A lady, a tree.
a tree. Very good.
A
And
lion.
a lion. Look at you guys. All right, this one's a little bit more difficult. What do you see?
An eagle.
Good. It's a falcon. Okay. This is the Atlanta Falcons. It's a football team. Look, the shape of an F. Okay, their Falcon is in the shape of an F. All right, these guys, if you're a Blackhawks fan, you hate these guys because they keep beating the Blackhawks like in the playoffs. So what do you see? These guys are the Vegas Knights. Do you see the
There's
V?
a V in the middle.
Yeah, you see the V? All right. Who's seen the movie Brave?
Me.
Yeah. Okay. Now,
Yeah,
in
you
the
see
movie
the bear.
Brave, her mom becomes a bear, right?
Yeah.
All right. This is one of my favorite logos in baseball, like of all sports. Okay. Cub fans hate these guys, right? But I really like their logo. Okay. What do you see?
And I think it's a B and an M.
And there's a glove with the baseball in the middle.
Very good. And what does the shape of the B and the M kind of come together to make?
Milwaukee Brewers.
Milwaukee Brewers. Very good. And
It's a glove.
a glove, a catcher's mitt, right? So the M is here, the B is here, and together they make the glove, the catcher's mitt. Okay? So some pretty awesome stuff. All right. Thank you all for participating. That was fantastic. Okay? All right. So I'm going to allow you some time to process this and get this completed. It's not due today, okay? But what I want to give you is your next couple steps to explain things more, okay, of what you're doing next. So I'm going to go away from the slides. They're there linked if you want to catch up and, like get your definitions and you put things in your own words and your pictures. If you want to catch up with that, that's awesome, okay? So once you're done with those steps and you've filled out, like in your own words, you talked about composition, balance, positive space, negative space, okay? So when you're done with that part, then I want you to sketch your own balance project, okay? Let me give you some examples of the balance project and kind of what I'm looking for you to make. I linked in the instructions a whole series of previously made balance projects. So this is on the wall at Maine East from last year's graphic arts class. So what they did is they cut out a 4x4, okay, piece of black cardstock, okay? And then they cut out using scissors and just regular white paper that just kind of goes through the printer. They cut out a variety of shapes where they could express positive and negative space, okay? Notice this person balanced the penguins, okay? Notice this person made a pretty awesome looking vessel, right? This person kind of made almost like the yin yang type of sign, but with a face, okay? Now notice how much color pencils or crayons they've used. How much?
None.
None is the right answer. Okay, so they're creating the graphics, the images, by just using shapes and like their scissors to cut things out. So here's another one. Okay, these are all in there, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time with each one. Okay, this one's upside down. It's supposed to be like a plant. Okay, sorry about that. Here's a pretty good one. They cut out the leaves and they put them up here, right? This is a good fall-based one. So they cut out the tree, cut out the leaves, and then glued the leaves on here, but left the open spots down here and let the black come through, kind of like the last project we made. All right, I'll leave all these examples there, okay? If you can see, we're wide open for your interpretations, okay, of positive and negative space and creating balance. So before you start cutting with your paper, okay, I want you to sketch your ideas and I want you to put them on the Jamboard. Again, if we were in person, I'd have you sketch it and then I'd look at it, I'd give you feedback, and then I would allow you to start. I just can't do that under like the e-learning situation. So I'm going to ask you, instead of sketching it and then showing it to me, put it on the Jamboard so I can give you feedback there. Okay, and then by putting on the Jamboard, you can see other people's, And also, if you want to kind of get practice at giving other people feedback, you can do that, but make sure that you're giving like constructive feedback. Okay. So here's my running agenda. Finish the notes stuff in your own words. Okay. It's not for me. I'm not going to assess that in your own words. So if you're kind of a little bit off with your words or with your own words of defining the stuff, it's okay. All right. I'm not going to look at that and go right or wrong, check minus, minus, minus. I'm not going to do that. That's for your own learning. Okay. So again, the guided notes thing is for your own learning. I'm not going to nitpick on it someday or tomorrow. Okay. It's for your own learning. Then sketch a balance project, add it to the Jamboard. It's linked here and it's linked in the instructions for the project. So you should be able to find it on the instructions. All right. And then utilize the feedback and create your own balance project. Okay. When you're done, you would take a picture of it and turn in the sketch, okay, and the actual balance project. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop share and I'm going to open it up for questions. Don't leave yet. I think people have some really good questions right now, which might help you. You can either verbalize them or put them in the chat and I'll work my way through all the questions.
So are we supposed to like first of all sketch our balance thing and then turn it into the Jamboard along with our project?
So just first, good question, Leanne. So first sketch it, take a screenshot of it with your camera, like you could just take a picture with your camera, and then add it to the Jamboard, okay? And then before you start, give me some time to give you some feedback, and then you can start on it once you get the feedback. All right?
Okay.
Good. What that does is that gives me a way to make sure that you understand what I'm looking for you to do. So if I see the sketch, I might just say, looks good, go ahead, okay? Or I might say, okay, but you can't color on the white. You have to like cut out shapes and glue it on the black, all right? So utilize the feedback, and it might just be as simple as, wow, Alien, looks really good, go ahead and begin, okay?
Is it due by the end of class?
No, I'm gonna say due. I didn't really pick a due date yet. I was thinking Tuesday next week. It would be due.
So you would like us to have our sketch done at least, right?
Yeah, if there's a do anything right now today, I'd like you to have your sketch in, okay? So that I would like, so that I know you're on track and we don't go the whole weekend with you having like an incorrect view of what I'm looking for. So yes, if you could get your sketch in today, that would be ideal.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Taba says, this is the best example I've seen. Taba, in regards to what?
Oh, it was that sun with the ducks
Oh,
and the
okay.
ants on. Yeah, it was really good.
Cool. Thanks for that. All right. Nobody has any other questions. All right. I'm going to do two things. You guys can now go and work on your project. I'd like your sketch by the end of class if it's possible.